Okay.
Okay.
So here we are with the first episode, the first interview for this series, and we're gonna go over with a lot of the stars in powerlifting and all the people that, if you don't know yet, I can guarantee you that you will know pretty soon. So first we got on 120 kilo superstar sub-junior moving into the juniors, Nonso, better known as Nojo Fitness. And we'll let you introduce yourself, Nonso. So give a short
Okay.
introduction and
My name is Nonso, otherwise known as Nojo Fitness. Like Mike said, I'm a sub-junior, just moving into juniors. My best accolades are 363 kg dead, 192.5 bench, and a 330 kg squat. I think heaviest ever under 18 total. So yeah, I'm moving into juniors now, so new competition.
okay, yeah, the new competition will be stiff. You know what? We'll start with something that hopefully maybe will give us a good controversial take, which is, what do you think about your spot on the rankings? You came in number 3 as the sub juniors. Where do you think you deserve to be?
I think I deserve to be number one. I just feel like, obviously, I understand it was done. Was it just dots, or was it other stuff as well?
No, so it was a combination, right? Like we used dots, we used like records, we used like what kind of meet. Obviously, like if two people did the same thing and one person did it at Worlds and one person did it in their backyard, obviously they're not equal. Also, what else did we do? We just, I don't know, I don't remember, but it was a combination of a bunch of factors. So I guess the hard thing is, this came up with you. This came up with all the 120s in general, and also a little bit the 120 pluses, like same thing with like the woman, the 84 pluses, which is that the higher the weight class is, like DOT is not perfect, and they take a penalty. Like I think Rondell Hunt said it best, right? Hopefully he'll move into the 120s because there's nothing better than having like the best competition available. He said like for him to match like Taylor or Austin's dots, he would have to like have broken the world record by like 100 kilos, which is the same thing with Jesus. Like for Jesus to have the number 1 dots, he would have to be so far away better than everybody else in the world where like nobody could ever catch him. So dots is not perfect. And yeah, there's definitely a good case for number 1. Like you said it and you're right, which is you have the heaviest total of a sub junior ever. Like,
yeah, I feel like the year, like obviously number 1 and 2, they were both USAPL lifters, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. For reference, number 2 was Luke McCain, who did 662.5 at 66, and then number 1 was Jaden Lowe, who is kind of controversial. It was at a local meet in the USAPL, but he did do 775 at 81 kilos.
So, yeah, I'll just be honest. The main reason why like he got the number 1 spot, besides for dots and all that, is I was looking at the numbers, and his 775, which at 82, 83, whatever you want to call it, would have won the juniors like at Worlds. Like obviously he wouldn't have necessarily done that, but that was better than any of the juniors did. So it's like if we have a sub junior who's beating all the juniors, then like that's got to count for something.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, I didn't know that. That's insane. But I just, because obviously IPF, like the world stage is the biggest stage, and that's why you got lots of USAPL lifters and all that coming over. So that's why I felt like I should have been number 1, because I felt like the year I had on the platforms I had it on was what made the achievements better. Like not discrediting them, but obviously USAPL is just America you're competing against, or I think is it anyone in America or is it certain states?
So it's the whole US, and I know you've probably seen all like the recent, I would call it nonsense, to be honest, of like USAPL this country, USAPL that country. But for the most part,
it's pretty much just the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the addition of Rondell as a guest lifter. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I just feel like, because obviously it's a different stage. But knowing that thing about the juniors, that is pretty insane, to be fair.
Yeah. One other thing that I would mention, which doesn't apply to him because he didn't even do it at nationals, is that like everyone talks about travel and travel's real and all this, but they say like these Worlds or Euros where you're traveling, the travel from like England to France or Turkey is like the equivalent of somebody in the US like just flying from New York to Texas. So they try to say, I still think it's not the same, because it's not like travel is not just a matter of like you go on a plane for 3 hours. Like that's only a small part of it. And part of it is like you're in a different country, right? They speak a different language. It can be harder to get food. Like I know myself, like when I was in other countries, like the nutrition facts aren't in English, right? Like you don't know what you're eating. Like you don't. There's a good story that Ryan said on the King of the List podcast, Ryan Sixpack, where he was in, I think it was Sweden for Worlds, like earlier one of these years, and he went to buy something that he thought was like mineral water, and when he's going to check out, he finds somebody who speaks English, so he's like, "This mineral water, right?" And the person's like, "No, it's detergent." Like if you drank it, like you would have died, or whatever. But like, it's just like these are things that like you don't deal with when you're in your own country. And while you could prepare for them, like it definitely makes things more difficult. So I agree. There's the highest stage in powerlifting to me is not just international but worlds. Like Sheffield is the coolest meet maybe, but the biggest stage is the World Championships.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think the world platforms, it brings together so many different people. But yeah. The travel thing I think it is true, but I haven't noticed it with myself, but a lot of other lifters, like when I've gone to these, like the 2 worlds I've been to, they do struggle a lot with adjusting to like new countries and like new time zones, new weather and all that. I don't know. Maybe it's because whenever I go, I tend to go for like a while, like maybe 3-4 days before, so I kind of adjust. But a lot of lifters struggling, I definitely see it affect their totals and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's more to it than that also. Like, for example, when you're at Worlds, it's not just a matter of like, it was like a hard commute and like you're in different circumstances. Like the goal at Worlds is to win, right? So there'll be times where you're capable of more, like, especially when you're in like a heavy like battle. Like it's a little different, like honestly, in your case where like you were by far the #1 sub-junior, but like, let's say next year and all the future years, when you're in the juniors and you're battling people that are like closer to you, like you can't just say, okay, I'm just going to go all out and try to go hit like the highest possible total, because then you risk missing lifts and you risk like losing. And if it comes down to like hitting that like 15 kilo PR or winning, like everybody, 99 out of 100 people would go for the win and the other person would be wrong. But so yeah, I definitely agree with the take. So I was gonna ask, who do you consider your biggest rival right now in powerlifting?
Okay, so I'd mainly say there's 2 people. So he's a GB guy as well. I kind of started powerlifting with him. His name's Josh. It's Ngoka Lifts.
Oh, I saw your post.
Yeah, he's a 120 plus, but he's coming down to 120s, and I think he's got like 10 more kilos to lose or so. He's like, I'd say right now I'm stronger than him, but he's like strong, and I feel like the weight loss is going to do him well with his leverages. So him, and then obviously the other superstar is Hamza. He's a 105, but I do think at some point he will come up to the 120s, and I'm so excited for that. I want to be able to face him, not based off GO dots, anything like that, just total to total, and see who does better.
Yeah, I was assuming that your answer was going to be Hamza. That was my guess. Like it makes sense, meaning at least from an IPF side, like the 2 people that over the last year have been getting like the hype are you and Hamza, because both rightfully so. But then the difference is that when it came into Worlds, I think more people were talking about Hamza and like what he was going to do. And for lack of a better way of saying it, he didn't live up to the hype. Like he had a great meet. Like nobody had ever seen his training and he just did what he did. It would be like, wow, this is incredible. But because he had done what he did in training, it was like people were talking like 880. So then when you total like 830, 840, that becomes disappointing, which is like crazy to think about. So yeah, that definitely, I don't know how soon he'll join you in the 120s because he's definitely a bit shorter than you. So
Yeah, he is.
some more time. But then again, you were 105 like literally a year ago. So like
I was holding myself back quite a lot to stay 105s. But yeah, when I came up, I like shot up straight away. So
yeah. Speaking of holding yourself back to be 105, I found a funny post. Actually, it was the first post on your Instagram. It was kind of funny, and you wrote like a whole message, and it was like whatever. You were 15, but like one of the things was like you're like I want to stay under 100 kg and be lean and shy, whatever. It was pretty funny reading it, and I'm like, wow, this like man has changed. That's for sure. And it kind of actually reminds me of like somebody that you're probably not going to battle this year because I don't think you'll be in the opens, but probably soon, which is Bob, right? So everyone knows Bob. He now says he's going to be doing 120s this coming year at Worlds, which is a great addition. But like when I first met him, which was like 6 years ago, he was an 83. Like he never competed at 83, but he weighed 83. He weighed, and crazy enough, I actually benched the same as him then, but we're not going to get into that. But then he started. That was before he had ever taken powerlifting seriously, like, or not seriously, doing any powerlifting. Like he got famous through doing like different stunt lifts. Like honestly, when he got famous, like he got famous before you were even in the sport, like in powerlifting. I don't even know if you were training then because you're 18 now. So when did you first start training?
16. I had my first comp when I was 16. Yeah.
And how long were you in the gym before that?
About a year before that.
Wow, so it's pretty crazy.
Was your goal when you first stepped into the gym like strictly powerlifting? Because when we see your first post, you're like, are they talking about like, I guess not weight classes, but you're saying like, I want to stay under 100, I want to be lean, muscled up, so.
No, it wasn't. When I first stepped in, I was a bit chubby, bit fat as a kid. So the first thing was just get lean, like look good and all of that. Then I was like, you're with your gym bros in the gym, you're just maxing out on bench and deads every week. And it's actually really funny. I was maxing out on deads every week and I didn't get injured and it was improving. Like I got to 300, like just, I think in summer I went from like 220 to 300, just maxing it literally right about every week. I don't know how it happened. It was crazy.
Was this when you were 16?
Yeah, I did 300 first.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's actually very interesting. I mean, there are a lot of things, but so one thing recently is we've seen like way more younger people in the sport. And I think that's a good thing. But what may or may not be a good thing is like, the question is like, when you get into the gym, is the right thing to do to like get a coach right away and whatever, or maybe like have fun in the gym, maybe like obviously get strong, do it the way you did it. Because I think if you would like poll like all the top lifters, like now, like maybe not like the ones who are like in their upper 30s, but like all like the juniors and like the newer open people, most of them I would say did it the way you did. They didn't come into the gym and like hire a coach when they were 15 and like start just SBDing. Like you see a lot of people now, like, which they're decent power lifters, they have good numbers, but like maybe they don't even look like they lift, right? Because like you'll get strong from squat bench deadlift, but if you only squat bench deadlift, like you're probably not going to look like somebody who spent a year or two in the gym lifting first or like played a sport at a pretty high level first. Like those people will just have a much better base. So like maybe long term, really, it's not the most important thing to get a coach right away and start squatting twice a week and benching 5 times a week and whatever. Like maybe that's not, I don't know.
It's interesting you said it because I was having a conversation with someone and they were literally talking about this because they're new in the gym and they asked someone to be their coach and the guy was like, oh, I feel like it'd be a waste of money for me right now to coach you because you're new, you're still PB, like you're just very fresh in the gym, you're going to get newbie gains. Like he was like, hit a plateau first before you get a coach. Like what's the point in paying for something? You're going to get stronger regardless. Cool, your form and all that, but that's going to come naturally. Like I do definitely feel like people right now are just getting in the gym and they're too strict straight away. Like whenever people DM me, my advice is always, oh, have fun with it first. Just get in the gym, get used to it, have that fun with your friends where you go, you kind of, there's no too much structure, because I found a lot of people end up hating the sport because it's been so structured and regimented from the start, and it can get boring, and I do like understand that. So definitely like having some freedom at the fun at the start is good.
Right. Like you even see people who are young juniors or even like older sub juniors, and they'll make an Instagram post after a meet saying, "Oh, I'm feeling kind of burnt out," and it's like, man, you're 18 and you're already feeling burnt, or not specifically you, but you're already feeling burnt out just from powerlifting. And it may be because of, like you said, like you're taking the sport so seriously, hiring a coach when you're 14, 15. By the time you're that age, even though you're young and you have a ton of potential, you also have to think about if you're going to burn out early.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm not going to say names, but like throughout this whole thing where I was going through the rankings, so I was looking at different lifters, and there was a lifter I was talking to over the last couple of weeks who's either 17 or 18, a sub junior, and the kid's really strong. He's never competed or he's whatever, or I couldn't find results for him, but I think he's benched like 210 kilos. And I was like saying like, oh, when are you going to compete? Like, what are your goals, whatever? And he like kind of responded. He's like, I don't even like powerlifting. And I'm just like thinking like it's possible he just doesn't like that's fine. Like there's going to be people in the gym who love the gym, but they don't love powerlifting. And that's fine. Like, but I think you have to find that love for the gym first, right? If you come into the gym at 15 or 16 with your friends and you immediately start powerlifting, and then like it feels like boring or whatever, and you don't enjoy it, you're probably not going to enjoy the gym either. Like you have to first like find that love for the gym, and then if you decide like, oh wow, this is a cool sport, like we're getting stronger, we're getting bigger, we're like we have a direct way to compete, because like going to the gym might be fun, but like you can't just compete. Like what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna go like, oh, who could lat pull down more? Like okay, like yeah, maybe you could do it once, but I think that would get boring very quickly. So I think that's a good way of going about it. Did you start coaching people?
Me, no, I don't coach people right now.
Okay. Is in the future, or is that something like you want to do?
I talked about this recently with my coach, and it was something I wanted to look into. Like I do like, I'm interested in the coaching side of things, and I want to like grow my knowledge and all that. And so I'm kind of trying to start up, but I don't think I'm there yet. But it's definitely something that's like on my radar.
That's cool. Who is your coach?
James Adcock.
Oh, okay. He's the 93, right?
Yeah, the 93.
Yeah. He's actually he's a funny dude. He's one of the most nuts human beings I've ever met.
He's something.
Yeah. So okay. So I didn't know he's your coach. Okay, that's cool. How long have you been working with him for?
Last year, just after my nuts, which was March or April, I believe, I joined him. So I was with him. He was the one who actually like convinced me that 120s would be the right move.
Oh, what a blessing. I mean, look what you're doing now. Like
literally, I was fighting to stay 105s. I do cardio 30 minutes twice a day, every day, like couldn't miss a day.
Were you tracking food as well?
Yeah, like I would do everything like down to the bone just to stay 105s. And he was like, oh, I really think you should go up. And in my mind, I just wanted to face Hamza at 105s. I was like, I need to do this. Like, I need to prove I can beat him. He was like, oh, listen, think about the progress and longevity. And eventually I moved up. And like virtually instantly, I literally felt like a god in the gym. Like I felt so strong. It was definitely the right move.
I mean, yeah, your total has gone up like 90 kilos since like even just early this year. So your progress has just been insane. So obviously it was the right move. It's just when you're like in that lower division, you're kind of like stuck in the mindset of, oh, I need to be lean. I need to be competitive for dots. Whereas especially if you're like a sub junior or a junior, I'm always telling people like, it's not the end of the world. Like just go up a weight class. Like even if you won't be competitive immediately, like you said, like the progress will come. Not for everyone, but you know.
Well, what would you tell just like sub juniors and juniors in general about that? Because like I feel like the point that you're saying, like it's not just you who's like had those thoughts. Like you see it all the time. And for you, it was a little bit more valid because it wasn't just a matter of like, oh, I want to like hit this like dots or whatever. Like you were talking like, hey, you wanted to like win worlds in a weight class, and you wanted to battle like the person who was like closest to you. So like that makes more sense. But what would you say to just regular juniors and sub juniors that are forcing themselves to stay in like a lot of these smaller weight classes? What would you tell them?
But the biggest thing, firstly, is just your own safety. Like I feel like when you're holding yourself back, there's just so much more risk of injury, and then that takes you out of the game. So you were fighting to stay in a weight class to compete, then you take yourself out. Now you got to go through recovery and all that. Like it's just not worth it. And I think for sub juniors, it's definitely like the worst thing you can do is hold yourself back on body weight because you're young, you're still growing. Like that's definitely something I've realized. Your body's still growing, you're still adapting. To hold yourself back, you're holding back gains, and you're holding back just like as a growing team, just general growth. So definitely it's not something that you should be doing. Like obviously that said, like if you're sitting like a kilo or 2 kilos above weight class, that's not that like deep, you know, you just do your cut down for comp and all that. But definitely in general, if you're literally fighting to stay in a weight class and, you know, putting like having to do excessive cardio or too tight tracking, definitely just move up.
Mm-hmm. There's also the factor of like burnout, like we were talking about. Like if you're constantly dieting year round, like eating like, I don't know, 1,600 calories or something and just fighting to stay in that weight class, then you're going to end up like hating the sport and being like, I don't even want to compete anymore if I have to diet like year round and do insane amounts of cardio and all that.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
You're 6'3", right?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. You needed to move up.
And how many calories were you eating when you were trying to force 105?
Like 2K. I literally, so I went to a boarding school, so I wasn't at home most of the time. Like we had meals prepared for us. I wouldn't eat breakfast. I wouldn't really eat lunch. Like I'd eat like 2-3 squares bars before I went gym, and I'd only eat in the evening. And like I do cardio when I went gym in the afternoon, and I do cardio in the evening, and like it just wasn't healthy. And like it wasn't working. I was literally on like 2K calories.
Wow, like it sounds like Jared's eating his like no food, and then he started eating. Wait, so what do you eat now that you're 120?
So originally, so when I let go of 105s, I shot up to like 115 in like 2 months. Like it was insane. Then I got stuck at 115, so I went to 5K calories, to kind of get up to a bit heavier. Then I got to like 120-ish. Then I just went back to normal eating, and now I'm like at 118. I'd say I eat like 3.5-ish a day.
Okay, that's good.
That's solid. That's a solid amount of calories.
Yeah, the difference between 2K and like 3.5K calories, like
It's a big difference.
Yeah, I can imagine that would definitely explain how like training would go much better. Like, well, it also goes better just because like your recovery is better, but just like being able to eat and not be hungry. Like when you're eating 2,000 calories, like you must have been hungry like all the time.
I'd go to bed, I'd be just thinking about eating something else. I'd be so hungry. Like I'd just wait for that end of day to come so I could have that meal. It was so bad.
Yeah. Everyone listening, take his advice.
Especially the subs.
Not worth it.
Especially the subs. I mean, I myself have so many friends who are like, oh, I need to cut to this really lightweight. Like it'll be a woman and they're like, I need to cut to the 52 weight class so that I can win this local meet. And I'm like, who cares? Just move up. Like you will enjoy your life so much better. You'll enjoy the sport so much better. And like you said, you literally felt like I can understand now why you said you felt like a god in training. Like you were eating 5K calories compared to 2K. So
yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I coached somebody who like tries to cut from 70, a girl from 70 to 63. And it's just like that's 10% of your body. That's like, yeah. So
it's just tough in a weight class based sport, you know. You're always like in the mindset like I need to be the most competitive I can be, even though long term it's not the best.
Yeah. I mean, but they say it's not really a weight class sport, it's a height class sport. Like
right.
If you're 6 feet and you think you're an 83, you're not. Like you're probably not a 93 either. You're probably a 105. Like You have to like obviously it takes time, because like if you're somebody who's like 17 and you're 6 feet, like if you're like pretty new to the gym, like you might be 83 right now, but to actually like hit your potential or even come close, you're gonna have to put on weight, and you're gonna have to let your body have that fuel. So I think even people are like, oh, I don't know, like they think like, oh, if I gain like 30 pounds, 40 pounds, like I'm just gonna become like fat. And it's like yeah, there, if you do it like very incorrectly, it's possible. But like if you let your body just like fuel itself and train harder and like get stronger, like you're just gonna be a bigger human being. And like you'll probably also end up being more competitive.
Definitely.
Yeah. So here's the question. So you said you wanted to face Hamza and you hope he comes up to the 120s. What would you say your goal for 2024 is?
As I've actually been today, I was thinking about that. Like I was speaking to my coach as he was like, "Oh, you got to set some goals for 2024," and I'd probably say, so I've kind of got like stages. So the first stage, I've got Nats in March or April. So first goal, I want 900 there. So I want 900 kg total, first comp juniors. Then I've been trying to look. I can't find who I'm competing against at Worlds who hasn't aged out, but I want to know roughly what I'd have to hit to like be in the runnings for first place at Worlds.
So last year, or I guess like, yeah, just last year, 2023 Junior Worlds, Etienne won obviously with 926. And I believe he's aging out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think he's aging out. And then Jonah was right behind, 925.5. I think he has one more year, or is he aging out?
I'm not sure.
You might be going up against Jonah.
I hope he's there. That would make for
that would be an awesome battle.
That'll be, yeah.
I was trying to find out, but it was kind of tricky.
There's got to be somewhere. It's just you have to just see which year he's born, but I don't know if it shows it on. It should show it on the Good Lift page, like where the records are.
Oh right, let me look.
Because I thought he was done because he did that open competition with Indy.
Right. Well, I mean, he wanted to win.
You can compete as open.
Oh, but he still got another year.
I'm not sure.
He might not. He was born. I found his year. He was born in 2000.
So then he's done.
Oh,
he's done.
So
okay, cool. So yeah, so your biggest two junior competitors are aging out, and then the one who placed third, his name's Percy. I believe he's from Germany, and he totaled 875 at Worlds, which is already pretty close to what you totaled, 868.5.
Right. Well, third place. Well, initially third place popped. So he's also because he had another year also. He had another year and he totaled like 915 in the gym or something. And then
so he must be suspended, perhaps?
Yeah. You won't be facing him anytime soon.
Right.
Crazy.
So yeah, like
so you've got a pretty good chance at winning Junior Worlds, like as your first year.
Let's keep in mind, right? Obviously you're going to progress, right? But we assume you are going to progress also. So
yeah, of course.
875 will probably not win Junior World.
No,
it's probably going to be like who? Like I don't know what years any of these other. So,
but I mean, if you're like already, I mean, we don't know what you're going to do, obviously. But if you're planning to hit 900 by like springtime, like your national comp, then I don't know. You've got a good chance.
Well, so his first goal is happens to be, I was looking before at the roster for 120s in GB is like absolutely stacked. Like that is the number one like class. Like the 120s, like so obviously you got Tony Cliff, you got Indy. I believe Mo is officially moved up, right?
He's moved up.
Yeah, and then like there's a few other people who like are also like there's Sekanovsky, like he just like broke the Euro squat record. You literally there's like literally like it's very possible that there's like 5 people totaling in the 900s and the 120s. Like so you are in the toughest open weight class, and you are battling against the opens, right? That's like Like at least on the national level, like there's not another junior 120 who's anywhere near you, I assume.
Not that there's one. His name's JJ. He's coming up. So like I'm keeping an eye on him. I think I should beat him, but like
he's coming up from where? From
he's 105s as well. He's just moved up.
Oh, okay.
It's JJ Stronk, Stronk. He did do you guys know what uni worlds are?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did uni worlds there. He tried to actually match my deadlift 363.5 and he got it, but then he dropped it.
What did he total?
Oh wow.
So it dropped his total to like 830 something, but he was gonna total like 850, I think, around something like that.
But if he's moving up, then
yeah, so it'll be a good competition.
So if you have someone moving up and then you've got the other person moving down, right? Josh.
But he's gonna do Nats as 120 plus. So he's gonna take this year's 120 plus just so he doesn't cut too drastically. Then he's gonna do 120s next year. But nice. GB 120s is defo on the come up. But it's actually interesting because people were saying before that the class was quite empty, but now a lot of people are like coming up into it. And I think it's good, like the heavier weight classes are getting more competitive.
Yeah, I would say, right, 2-3 years ago, I would say, like, if you asked me what the most boring weight class in powerlifting in general was, I would have told you 120. But now, like, obviously in GB 120s, like in GB, it's the best class. And like, even in the world, like it's getting like you have like, maybe if Rondell comes over,
Bob and Rondell would be,
that'll make things complicated because, like, to be honest, there's no one close to them right now. I don't know who could get close to him, but like, I don't know what he totaled. It was like 1,000.
It was like, 1,000. I think even 45.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it would take a while before like anyone's there, but even before he comes over, right? So from the US, Bob's for sure coming over, or he's for sure trying to come over. He's going to be battling at Powerlifting America Nationals. He's going to be battling Devin Williams, who totaled like 960 at Nats this past year. Yeah, he won the 125s because Rondell was a guest lifter.
Yeah, and it was like a very close battle, like 3-way battle.
So like, obviously, like we all know, like we've seen what Bob could do, and his top end is higher than that. But like, it's not a guarantee. Like, it would be pretty crazy if after all the hype, like Bob was the #1 lifter like in the US this past year, and he actually also was the #1 ranked lifter in Powerlifting America this year. He did one local meet, like just to qualify for Nats, and he was the #1 lifter of the year. So, and it would be pretty crazy if like after all that, like he somehow missed the world team. But so like we got Bob coming over, we got maybe Devin Williams, we got Jonah and Etienne entering the open, like the 120, like,
and then all the GB lifters too, like Indy, Tony Cliff, obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
Nonso potentially the next couple of years.
This past year, second place this year at Open Worlds was 925, and third was 906. Like, there's no way. Like 906, like there'll probably be like across the world, there'll be 10 lifters doing that, maybe more. Like we just counted 5 in GB itself.
Yeah.
So like the 120s are like it's gonna be a battle. Like it probably like you could probably see something like 950 be the one last year will probably be like the podium this year.
So yeah, the stats just raising.
Yeah,
right.
In every class, like powerlifting's growing, and like it's the 120s is definitely a class. Like it's a fun class to watch. It's like it's in my opinion, like when the 120s have competition, it's one of the best classes to watch because like everyone likes seeing heavyweight, right? Like that's just like fun to watch, right? Like I'd rather see like I don't care the weight classes so much. I'd rather see a dude like deadlift 800 or squat 800 than some 150-pound kid like squatting 550, right? Like everyone agrees it's more exciting. But then like once you get to the supers, it's a little harder to relate because then you're like yeah, that's a 400-pound guy. Like it's like the 120 is still a very big human being, but it's much easier to relate to an 120-kilo guy than a 200-kilo guy. So like that could be like super exciting. Yeah.
So here's the question, Nonso. Do you think that the 120s are the next hot division, at least for 2024? Or do you think that another division will be the premier one?
I do think for 2024 it's the 120s. I think just the amount of like hype and questions, and I was listening to a King of the Live podcast as well, and they were talking about it. They were saying the 120s is like the weight class to look at this year. I do feel like it's going to be a good year for the 120s and put them on the map in a way. I do feel like it's been very 93s, like 83, 93s mainly, like usually just because the average person's around that weight, so there's always more competitors. But 120s is definitely getting interesting. And I think another thing, just about earlier you mentioned like height and all that, I do think 120s is quite a versatile class because there's so many different builds and like so many different like specialists. Like you've got Indy, who's a dead specialist in 120s. You've got Jonah, who's a bench specialist. You've got people who squat insane numbers. Like you get so many different types of people in the 120s, and then you like clash them all together and see who comes out on top. I just feel like it's such an interesting thing.
Yeah, you make a good point. So it's actually, it leads me to a question, which is, so before you got into lifting, like what was your background? Like, did you play sports?
Yeah, so I played rugby. I played academy rugby for a bit. I was kind of in school, like I said, I went boarding school. We did all sports, so rugby was the main one, but I did athletics as well. So I did 100-meter sprint and I did shot put. So I've always like been like into athleticism and, you know, power and all that.
Right. And it makes sense. Like I would say like most of these like top lifters now, like they have like a real background in some sort of sport, because like, yeah, like lifting from an early age is good, but somebody made this point to me, like I think it was a year or two ago, which is that if you look, it's changed a little bit now, because now most of the records for all the younger divisions are people like that have done it in the last year or two. But if you look before that and you look at like the leaderboards, like the top rankings and like all like the like teen 1, teen 2, teen 3, Subjunior, whatever, for all those weight classes from like years ago, most of those lifters, with like a few exceptions, like Ashton being like one notable, really disappeared from the sport. Like it never, like you would think, like if some kid is like 16 and he's like, I don't know, like totaling like, I don't know, 783 or something like that, like, oh wow, like what's he gonna do in 5 years, whatever. But like most of them, like some of them like improved a little bit, but like none of them like made it to the top. And then very few of them are still even in the sport. Like you have Ashton and then like Perk, but that's a little different. He started a little bit later and like was doing equipped first. Like he did his first like raw meet at like 19 maybe. So like that's not like talking about somebody got in so really early. So it's more like that sports background, like they're taking over. And I think you made a very interesting point when you were saying like the 120 is like a very versatile class in terms of builds. And I think as powerlifting grows, we're going to get more people like people that like played rugby or people that played football, people that have like the non like traditional like powerlifting build, meaning not being like 5'4", and we're gonna have more of those people that get into the sport, and like they're gonna fall. Those people are like, some of them will be 120s or 105s. Like those people are not really gonna fit into like the 74, 83 class. So I think like we're definitely gonna see growth. And I'm gonna make like a hot take on something you said earlier, which is that like you said like the 120s is the new hot class, and that like for a while it's been the 93s. And somebody else said this, and at first I like was like, no, it's crazy. And then I thought about it, and it's like the 93s have been like a really like hyped up class because like there's a lot of people really close. And that's true. Like you have Keiko, like there was Chance, there's Gavin, there's like Emil, there's Gustav, there's I don't know, there's a lot of people. Like there's like a lot of people like within like probably like a 15 to 20 kilo range, which makes it exciting. But the hot take that somebody else said, and I kind of agree, is that like part of why it's like so exciting and close is because actually Bob said this. It's Bob's point. He's like, it's because there's nobody in the 93s that's leveled up.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, I've seen when he said this. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all really strong, but like there's nobody that's been like, okay, I'm gonna take this to like another level. Like there's nobody like that's done like what Taylor first did and then Perk did in the 74s, where they're like before like 74s never hit 800. That wasn't even a thing. Like if like 3 years ago, like there was probably, I think there was like 2 or 3 74s that had ever hit 750. Now like 750, yeah, you see the juniors hitting it. But like, and then like Taylor came in, hit 838, and then Perk came in, hit 850. Like, and then you have like another classes, like you have like Ashton came in, like just destroyed the 105s, like at least on the US side. And then you have Jesus who just like destroyed the supers. Like there's
and
no
then Rondell. You can't miss out Rondell, who's obviously leveled up the 120s.
Right. But like there hasn't been that 93 yet who's just had a performance that was like way beyond. Oh,
they needed Jesse Norris.
Right.
That's who they need.
The 93 record, like at least not like IPF because it wasn't IPF, but like if you used to look at like tested 93s, the record is still from 2015. There's no other weight class where it's like Jesse Norris hit
it was like 914 or something.
914 or something like that in 2015, and nobody's come close yet. Nobody else has broken 900 yet. Like, can you imagine that? Like, if you look at every other weight class, the record's been set in like if you just go to like Jesus just set the supers. Whether if you count Rondell, like he hasn't done an IPF yet, but he like effectively set the 120s. If you look at the 105s, like either Ashton and Anatoly, they've both broken it. Like whichever one you want to consider number one is new. If you look at the 83s has been the same for a little bit, but that's just because Russ hasn't been pushed. Yeah. Like I expect this, like when he does come back, that to be like shattered. The 74s, like Perk just destroyed it. Like you look at all these classes, and then you look at the 93s, and it's like somehow like the record's still standing from 8 years ago.
I've never thought that's actually true. I think you're right. It's just people get so wrapped up in like the fact they're so close and no one is just that bit above the pack. Like that's why people watch it. But it's true. No one's really like leveling up.
Yeah. So that's my hot take right there. So wait. So you were saying before. So you got this year. You got British Nats. What month is that?
March or April. I want to say March.
Okay, and then what would you have after that? Like it would be from there straight to
Worlds, but there's a new thing they introduced, like Euro Muscle Show, something like that. It's like for juniors. It's like because obviously in the IPF there's no like monetary rewards for winning competitions, but this is the first like cash reward for juniors. So I'm looking at that. It's not like confirmed I'll do it, but I'm looking at that. But if not that, then straight into Worlds, and then after that I'll do Euros.
So do you know when this competition is? This muscle whatever competition?
I think it's
like around when? Like it's like the summer?
In between Worlds and that, so like June.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay, that is a cool concept. Who's running this? Like
it's IPF.
Oh, the IPF itself is running a money meet.
Yeah, it was on the IPF page.
Oh, that is pretty cool. That's like because like I know, right? You don't get paid directly if you win Worlds or any of this stuff. Like I know, at least on the Open, like if you're sponsored, then you like SBD pays at I think like 5,000 if you're an SBD athlete and you win Worlds, and then like something for second and third also. And I think other sponsors are also. Do you have a sponsor?
Oh yeah, I just got sponsored by MyProtein recently.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I've started working with them.
Okay, so when you just started that?
Yeah, literally or end of October.
Okay, so like it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
And like what kind of stuff like that? I know, look, obviously MyProtein, right? So obviously they got like protein and supplements and stuff. And then they also like it's a clothing brand also, or
yeah, they've got a bit of clothing. This is one of their jumpers actually. They've got some clothing. They're like expanding their clothing base now. So I think this year they're releasing a lot more like lifestyle and all that stuff. But yeah, they're very good on the supplements. So I just use them for my supplements.
That's cool. Yeah. So like, what's your like take on the whole like sponsoring and apparel and all this stuff like in general in powerlifting? Like,
I do. So I feel like it just needs. It's coming slowly, but I'm just excited for the growth. Like I want it to happen, and I feel like more people need to like push for it, and like sponsors and like have more pride in powerlifting, so people are interested and like people attract people, sponsors grow and all that. But there was some like I don't know the right word, like people are complaining a bit in Great British Powerlifting because they wanted to raise like entry fees and all that stuff, so there's more money in the sport to pour back and grow. And like people are complaining, which I think is a bit weird, but I think sponsors are coming in slowly, but they are coming in more.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that, and then when I saw that, I actually kind of found it ridiculous because, like, how much does a regular meet in GB cost? Like, what's
So
like
entry fee is like 35, 45 pound ish.
Right. So for reference,
for
like,
meet entry.
yeah.
Wow.
For reference, in the US, like a regular local meet can be 95 to like 120. Like that's a normal local
That's
meet.
like average, yeah.
Really?
Like dollars.
Yeah.
And I
Which
think
is,
that
it's basically
That's like £100-ish. Damn.
Yeah. So like I saw that.
it's like 86 pounds, like $110. So still, it's like almost twice or more than twice as much.
Right. Yeah. So I was like, are they
Crazy.
really complaining with the price of that? Like, how much is the entry fee for nationals?
£35, yeah.
Okay, it's
35
like,
pounds.
250 in the US.
Yeah, and then for the listeners, 35 pounds is like $44. Like that's like
you guys, you have your cash prizes, don't you? Like for winning nats and raw nats and all that.
That's new, but like even before they had prizes, like that was the entry fee. And like I think
that's like the standard. Like
nationals
even if there's no cash prize or anything like that.
To be honest, I can understand that because that's one thing I've always like envied about the American meets. They look a lot like more like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like
the production.
Yeah, the production's so much better. So the price is crazy, but I definitely understand why. And I'd want like Great British Powerlifting to be like that, but I don't know if the people would ever pay that much for entry fees.
So it's actually at least an interesting point, which is, I don't know if you heard, like Russ did like a podcast like maybe a year or two ago with King of the Lifts, and he was saying, I think like Russ did it with Joey, like it was a whole thing, and he was saying how like he thinks they should raise like memberships to like 250 or whatever, something like that. And he got a ton of backlash. Like people were like saying it's crazy, whatever. And his point, whether or not it's right, was that like you pay a little bit more and then like everything levels up, right? Production gets insane. Like there's cash prizes, there's this, like just so people were upset because it's like they were saying that most people, right, are only ever going to compete in the local level. So it's like for them to pay 250, we're like, where does that money go to? Like the extra money, it's going to basically go to like make it like giving cash prizes to the best lifters and like production at like nationals or like high level meets. Like they're not really going to see like the actual they're not going to see the effects of it, right? It's going to more good. So I agree that might be a little bit unfair, but I think like raising like meat prices is probably a better way to do it because like, yeah, so if you compete once or twice a year or even 3 times, so you pay a little bit more each time, but like that'll directly help you. Like you pay more and like instead of having your meet be in like some local high school gym and then like and having like there be no quality, whatever, like it can just be like you can have better meets and like better quality meets and like just everything. I think production is definitely an important part. So yeah.
Like that's why our national meets are like $160, even like up to like $200, because that's what you're paying for, like the production of USAPL nationals or like PA nationals, especially this coming year. Like I think they're going to really raise the production.
What happens to be PA national is a little different because I think the money probably is just going to the federation because
that makes sense.
SBD has a contract with Powerlifting America, so SBD like produces like the meet either way. Like if you look at like the live stream for nationals for Powerlifting America is not on the Powerlifting America page; it's on the SBD page.
Okay,
so
makes sense.
Yeah, but like I think that's also important. That comes back to what we're saying, like sponsorships, right? Like sponsorships for lifters, sponsorships for federations, sponsorships for meets. Like that just helps like level up. Like what would be if you could pick any company in the world? What would be your dream sponsorship?
It's got to be Gymshark. That's just I love their brand, innit? But I do think that I've always liked American brands. Number one brand is Russ's GBT. I just love his brand. Obviously, I don't know if has he stopped now that Corrupted shut, or is that still running?
No, the brand's still there.
Right. Okay, yeah, I love that. Obviously, I kind of like your big brands there, so like Young LA, Helix, Raw Gear. I kind of like those brands as well. But Gymshark's probably like number one.
Yeah, I think who's Gymshark? Like there's been like in GB, like I think Messiah and Messiah. Is there anyone else?
Joey, do you know Joey Shaw?
Oh yeah, Joey, yeah.
So those two are Gymshark. Yeah.
So they haven't reached out to you yet.
Nah, not yet.
I think
Joey
maybe they will when you get into the juniors.
I think Joey got his from Nats actually. He missed his second pool, then his third like pulled him into first. And I think after that his socials kind of took off, and then they reached out to him. So just gotta keep biding my time.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that is like a common answer, Gymshark. But like I was actually kind of thinking, like I've had this discussion with other people, and it's like I think we need to think bigger, right? Like Gymshark's big, and it's definitely like the biggest like direct like fitness brand. Like it's probably Gymshark 1, like Young LA 2, if I had to guess. But like we should get to the point, like it might not be this year, but like I think over the next few years, like why don't we have lifters that are sponsored by Nike?
Did you see like they literally came out with Nike Strength, and that got me so excited.
The equipment.
Yeah. So it's like it's not like they're sponsoring like powerlifting specifically yet, but it shows promise. Like I feel like they will, like Mike said, like within the next few years.
Yeah, just imagine it was like if it was something as simple as like if you win Worlds, or if you like, I don't know, when you're like you get a Nike sponsorship. Like, and then like Nike sponsorships, we're not talking like just some gear. We're talking like checks.
That would revolutionize powerlifting. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'll take, and I don't know what's needed for it to happen. But I think like our goal should be like Nike. Like if you look already, like I don't know what shoes do you wear when you squat?
I just got the new Avances.
Okay, so that's a different kind of brand, but like at least like a couple of years ago, and even still like the most common squat shoes were like the Nike Romelos and like the Adidas.
I wear the Adidas.
Right. So like we already know, and also Reebok also like there's the Reebok Legacy lifters. Like these companies are already making gear that like we use. Like there's no reason why like okay they can expand that. Like why are there not Nike singlets? Like why are there not Nike knee sleeves? Like I mean I'm not trying to like kill these other companies, but I'm saying like we're talking brands that have like production all over the world and like can produce things at like half the cost and have the reach of not like a million people. Like they have the reach of like a billion people. Like so I mean it has to be worth it for them. And I think like we're growing towards that. Like you now see like it's like I mean there's still not so many of them, but like it's getting kind of common to have like powerlifters with 100K followers. And like I think like we're getting like not yet, but like in the future we'll have it be like there'll be powerlifters like there's already on the untested side a little bit, but like we'll see powerlifters with 1 million followers. And like once we get to that point, then powerlifters are effectively will have the reach of like just like professional athletes, right? Like obviously I don't think there's ever gonna be a powerlifter that's gonna have the reach of like a LeBron James or like a Cristiano Ronaldo, but like there's a lot of professional athletes and a lot of them have 1 million or some of them less followers. So like if we get to the point where somebody like Russ or somebody like Jesus or somebody like Nojo or somebody like Hamza, like we're like, yeah, they have like 500,000 followers, and when they wear something like, especially on the younger, like the juniors, like right, the juniors like have more influence because like, yeah, there's gonna be older people that follow you also, but like you have a lot of younger people who are like, and they look at you for inspiration and they see you wearing something, they're like, oh, I want to get that. So I think like Gymshark is cool and Young LA is cool, and I think like it definitely is a positive for powerlifting if we like get them more into powerlifting. Like I think like when did Gymshark started to make singlets, like a year ago or something?
Yeah, like pretty recently.
Right, it's pretty recent, and like I think that's a cool thing because there's way more people like Gymshark's. Like you go into any gym like in the world, and like you'll probably see people wearing Gymshark, and probably most of them like don't even know what powerlifting is, but they're wearing Gymshark. So I think it's really cool that they get into powerlifting. But I think if we can take the next step, like who knows? Like I honestly think there'll be a day where if you are a like world champion powerlifter, that's your job. And I don't mean that's your job because social media and coaching. I mean that's your job because like you get a check. Like maybe it's like you get like a a 50 grand check for winning worlds, and then you get a check for winning Euros, and you get a check for breaking a record, and you get a check for whatever, going to the World Games, like all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I think like it could happen, and I don't know if it can happen just with the people that are currently in the market.
That's definitely. I've never thought about it like that, but that's true. Like we do want. Everyone talks about wanting the sport to grow, but you've actually got to think big. And I do think if we do like tap into that market, the sport's just gonna skyrocket, and it'll definitely like change the way powerlifting is.
Mm-hmm. That's
but
why.
You're right. I think we're getting there, but it's just very slow.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, like we just got Raw into the World Games, and that's coming 2025. So that's why I get so annoyed when people say like, "Oh, powerlifting will never get into the Olympics," like blah blah. Like they just have like a small mind. Like you got to think bigger, you know. And World Games is just one step under the Olympics, essentially. And you know that if Raw's going to World Games, and we're gonna bring in those viewers, and sponsors are gonna like that's what they like. They see the viewers, they see the money. So that's where I think World Games will be the next step towards like Nike or an Adidas coming in.
Speaking of World Games, like what's like we talked about 2024. Like what are your goals, like not for 2024, but like for like the next 5-10 years? Like where do you like see yourself in the sport? Like what do you want to accomplish, and what do you want this like you and just the sport in general? Like what do you want to see?
So first goal, I want to be able to go. I want to go to Sheffield, but as a junior. I want to do it before I'm in the Open. So like final year of juniors. Probably not really number goals. Just kind of see how I progress. In terms of the sport, though, defo like obviously I think Sheffield's going to grow, and I do think not. I'm happy I'm at the age where I am, because I feel like the people up there now, like Gavin, Jesus, all of them, they're kind of still in the new phase of it. So I do feel like I'll get to experience Sheffield like as it's like rising. So I'll experience it more than they will, and like the cash will be more and all of that. So probably just like more influx of money into the sport, cash prizes at like Worlds and all that, like those kind of things. And like I think you literally said it perfectly. Being able to say your job is being a powerlifter, like it's enough just on its own, and like you live comfortable from that.
Yeah, I like that answer. What do you think about Sheffield in general? Like you said, that's like your goal is to make Sheffield as a junior. Like, what do you think about like the format of how who gets picked and then how it's scored? Like, what are your just thoughts in general on Sheffield?
I do. Before Sheffield, like I knew what Sheffield was. I was definitely saying, "Oh, like there should be a way for all of them to compete." Then they introduced Sheffield. Obviously, it's hard to say that it's a bad method because I don't know any other methods. But I do like the idea of it's based to get like you're versing yourself, and like it's how far can you push that world record? And I like the setup of that. I like the setup like between classes. So like. It's not GL, is it? It's just about how far you push the record. Right. Yeah, so I like that. It's selection is based on who wins worlds, isn't it? And then you have like 4 or 5 wild cards.
Yeah, like so I think like to make like the automatic thing, like you have to win worlds and hit like a certain percent of the world total. And then there's like the next step is like, so this past year what they added is that the best second place finisher got an auto bid. And then after that there's like regional wild card. So like I get why they do it, because they want to have people from everywhere, but like it's you could take a lifter who's not as good, but like the best lifter like on like either a continent or whatever, like they'll get an auto bid. So like if I remember correctly, like this year, like there's a 66 Kyoto from Japan who's getting like an auto bid because actually last year, right? One of the surprise stars last year, Evie, right? Broke out one.
Right. She was
only made Sheffield because she got the auto bid.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because she placed like, I don't exactly remember, but 4th or 5th in the 57s. Yeah. And then her getting that regional bid gave her the opportunity to say, hey, make some noise in the 52s. And then we know the rest of the story. So
I think that should change probably. Is adding another meet for the rest of the places, I don't know if that'd be too much of an inconvenience for lifters in terms of how Worlds compared to. Actually, no, there is a big enough gap between Worlds and Sheffields, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so another meet, obviously, more meets are interesting. They bring viewers and all that, so it wouldn't be like a negative thing to add another meet to just like fill out the rest of those places. So like, let's say it's like 8 or whatever, I think originally, then the others it's like another meet. I think that would be interesting. People would watch that, and it's like it's fair. Like it's not based on what continent are you from or anything like that.
Did you go to Sheffield?
I didn't actually. I watched it on the TV. I was meant to go this year, and then the friend, Josh, I was meant to go with him. We said we were going to book tickets, but we never did, and then it sold out. So next
year, completely sold out now?
I think it's either completely sold out or the seats left are like ridiculously like far back.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so, but next year I definitely want to go watch it because
yeah,
because
I mean you're in the UK, like
yeah, he told me about it. He said like the energy and everything, like it's just insane.
So one thing I was thinking about, like I don't know if it would be exactly like Sheffield, but I think it would be really cool is like to have a Sheffield style meet. Like probably the money would be not as much, but like the production and whatever. But to have a Sheffield style meet for like juniors, right? Because if you think about it, at Open Worlds, like most weight classes, like you have some pretty good head-to-head battle. But like when you come to Junior Worlds, some weight classes have great head-to-head battle. But then when you get to like the top lifters, they're often like not going to have like direct competition. Like sometimes you'll get like a great battle like you had like in the 120s this year in the juniors. But then sometimes you'll get something like some of the other weight classes where there really isn't that head-to-head. So to have like a Sheffield kind of thing where it's kind of like a Junior Worlds, but instead of having like in each weight class 30 lifters, it's like a primetime session, but not just a primetime session for each weight class. Because like you can't fill up a primetime session, right? You're not going to have 10 lifters in a weight class that are on the same level, right? Like this coming year, the 120s, right? You want to be in the 900s. If you take the top 10 lifters, by the time you get to 10, you're probably at like 800. Yeah. So they're not really battling with you. But if you take like a thing where you take like maybe 3, like 2 to 4, depending on the weight class from each weight class. So like, what is it? There's 8 weight classes. So take 2 to 4 lifters and maybe it's just like 24 lifters, right? 24 lifter, 24 men, like 2 flights of 12. And like you have to figure out some sort of scoring thing. But like this way, all the best juniors are competing just like amongst themselves. And that would be like, I think a cool, like US kind of did it for USAPL. They did like a junior primetime thing, like the night before Raw National started, where they took like the top 10 men and top 10 women. So I think like that's a cool idea, but like it would be cooler if it's like the whole world. So what do you think about an idea like that?
I think that would literally be perfect because there's like a lot of different benefits because obviously there's the benefit of the juniors feel like they're involved in their experience in Sheffields, but also it's like preparation for Sheffields in a way and like experiencing the competition where it's not about facing people in your weight class, it's like pushing the total. And it's definitely, you're right, for some, not that it's boring, but for some lifters it will be more like entertaining and more stimulating and harder for them and push them further if it's about totals, not about just beating anyone in your weight class. So I do feel like that would be a good idea.
I mean, that would give you the chance to compete against someone like Hamza, like you said.
Literally, yeah.
Right. I mean, everyone, like it would be like, I think, like, I don't think SBD would do it, or at least not now. Like Sheffield is like their focus and makes sense. But like there are other companies out there. Like there's A7, there's other companies that like, I think like once the concept of Sheffield was introduced, like it was introduced a few years ago. It was supposed to happen the first time before COVID. But like once it got reintroduced and actually happened and like everyone was able to see it and was like, wow, the production's insane and all this. I think like jumping on that idea and like trying to like further it, right? Like make Sheffield itself better, which SBD is doing. Like this year's gonna be even better, but like also making other things that are like that. Like I forgot who said it, but somebody made a good point, which is that Sheffield was insane. But like the biggest result of Sheffield, like the biggest positive, was not just the one meet, because like that's one meet that like whatever it is, 12 lifters get the experience and it's really cool, but like it's effectively meaningless, right? Like you're not fighting for a world title, you're not fighting for like it's like a cool meet. But the biggest positive is that like because of Sheffield, everyone else had to level up. Like everything else improved. And I think like that's true. Like if we can have like an improvement everywhere, like be it from like be it from your local meets to like nationals improving to like international meets like Euros and Worlds and all these things improving, like be like it'll improve from like we'll have like there'll be the setup will be better and like the media will be better and the production will be better and all these things, and maybe like the prizes will hopefully like get better. Like if all these things happen, like they're all like just going to help expand the sport.
Definitely. I do
You
feel
kind
like
of, oh, sorry, you can go.
no, I was just going to say it raises the standard for sure.
Yeah. Like you kind of get that double expansion too. Like the expansion of like Sheffield brought in so many like new people into the sport. Like, what is this? Like, this is powerlifting. Like, it looks cool, you know? And then they get into the sport. So you got the growth from just Sheffield. And then you get like the double growth of like if Sheffield levels everything up, then you get that like second wave of growth.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say like before we like head off, like first off, who, if there's one lifter in the sport, like not a rival, who would you say like inspires you? Like who's like a lifter that either like you saw when you were coming up and you're like, oh, I want to be like him or whatever, or like right now, who's a lifter that's like, oh, I want to eventually beat him? Like, do you have that person that's like, that's the guy?
So I'd say inspiration is, it's gonna sound cliche. My coach, I'd say James. I don't know. I'd like. Oh, he's injured now, but like when he was like in his prime competing, I don't know. Like I watched, he was probably like one of the first international lifts I watched. And I was just amazed by him. So him, and then the other person I'd say is probably Bob. I didn't actually know about Bob until like my Nats. So I didn't, when I first got into powerlifting, obviously it was a regional, so no one really talking internationally, but I found about Bob and I watched him and I was just like, he is insane. Like even just competing against him one day, I'd like, it'd be so cool. So I definitely say him. And Rondell, I just think Rondell's toe is just insane, just how strong he is. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rondell is like, he's on another planet. He's like Jesus in a class that like you don't usually have a Jesus. Like the supers, like it's common to have like somebody who's just so much better because there's just not so many supers. Like it's not not a populated weight class. Like for a while, Ray just like for 7 years he just like dominated. Like, and then it was like okay, like Ray's like getting older and like and injured and whatever. And then like Jesus, like first it was like, oh, can Jesus beat Ray? And then it's like, okay, he beat Ray. Can Jesus like break Ray's like world records? Like, yeah, he could do that. Now it's like, what can Jesus not do? Like, can Jesus like I don't know, beat the equipped world record raw? Like, who knows? I mean, that might be hard, but like, there's like nothing he can't do. So, and him and Rondell like that. Is there anybody like you want to shout out or whatever? Like, I don't know, sponsors, friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Or where can people reach you? Like your Instagram?
Oh yeah, so Instagram's Nojo Fitness, Nojo, then fitness, and then TikTok's fitness, then Nojo. Obviously my protein sponsored, so use my code Nojo. Yeah, that's about it really.
Okay.
And who's your coach? One last time.
Oh, James Adcock. So James and ADCOCK. Yeah, he's a great guy. I think he in the new year he is going to start taking on more clients. So if you want a reliable coach, I guess James.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Is the recording